Okay, hi everybody. Welcome back to our weekly live stream. My name is Alicia, and today we are going to talk about conditionals in English. Today's topic is first, second, and third conditional statements. So I hope that this is going to be a good lesson for intermediate learners in particular. As you join, please don't forget to like and share the video so that other people can find today's lesson. Send a comment in the chat too so that we can say hello to you. I see the YouTube chat is up. Fantastic. Hi everybody on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. It's awesome to have you. Facebook, I will go over to you now. I'm going to be checking Facebook comments on my phone again this week. I am broadcasting from my house, so I'll find you in just a second. A couple of announcements while we wait, as always. This week, there is this banner here at the bottom of the screen. The team has put together a 52-page workbook and free access to our beginner level course. So we know that many people are spending a lot of time at home these days. So we put together a course that you can access for free. There is 1 month left of this option, so if you have not checked it out yet, please take a look. You can find this from the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, or above the video if you are watching on Facebook. Please have a look at that if you have not already. Also, other point, as always, a reminder, if you have questions about something different from today's topic, or if you have questions about something just totally random, any like vocabulary, grammar, culture questions, and so on, anything like that, please send it to this series. I see in your comments, many of you say like, where do I send this? So don't try to like message me on Instagram or like put it in a YouTube comment or Facebook comment, because I can't check everything. So please send this to the official question submission page. The series is called Ask Alisha on the English Class 101 YouTube channel. And the official submission page is englishclass101.com/ask-Alisha. If you do a quick search of our YouTube channel, you can find the link in the description for YouTube. So please send me your questions there. I will guarantee to see your question that way. So please do that. Okay, so as I said, if you are just joining today's lesson, today we are going to talk about first, second, and third conditionals. First, second, and third conditional statements. In today's lesson, I'm going to focus on making statements. I'm not going to focus so much on questions. I'm going to talk about how we make these conditionals. I'm going to talk about when to use them, and I'm going to show a lot of example sentences. So I hope that you get lots of practice with these grammar points for today. Let's take a quick look at our lesson flow for today. Our lesson boards for today look like this. So if you want to take a screenshot of today's lesson, you will see this a few times. So I'm going to talk about the first conditional first, then second conditional, and then third conditional. So this will be today's lesson flow. Okay, so with that, let's get started. All right, Facebook. Hey, Facebook, I see you. I just loaded Facebook up now. Fantastic. I will say hi to you on Facebook. Hi there, Marie Chris 10 Suraj. Hello. Thanks everybody for joining us. Okay, let's get to part one. The first conditional. Let us discuss the first conditional. Let me get my marker here. Okay, first conditional then. Let's start. So, what is the first conditional? First, I want to look at how we make this conditional. There are two parts to all of the conditional sentences I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to speak a little bit more slowly too for this part of the lesson. So there are two parts to all of the conditional statements for today. There is what's called the if clause. This is the part of the sentence that has the word if, yeah? So the if clause finishes with this comma. This is called the if clause. Then there's this part here, the main clause. This part is the part that's after, that's like outside the if clause. So we're going to talk about if clauses and main clauses today. kind of this part 1 and part 2 of these sentences. You can change the order of these. You can use the if clause first or the main clause first, depending on what you want to focus on in your sentence. So let's look at the first conditional. What does this look like? To make the first conditional, we use if plus our subject, so like if you or if I or if he and so on. And then we use a simple present tense verb. So simple present verb means we use a simple present tense verb or a simple present tense verb phrase in this part right here. In the main clause for the first conditional, we have a subject. This does not have to match this subject, does not always match this subject. And then to make a basic, like just to start for today's lesson, to make a basic statement, we use will or won't. So remember, won't is will not, plus the infinitive form of a verb. Again, the infinitive form is just the dictionary form. So there's no change to this verb, just the basic form, the kind you find in the dictionary. So what do we use the first conditional for? This is in blue here. We use the first conditional to talk about a possible future situation. So there's something that has a chance of happening. We use the first conditional to describe that. And it's something that has a pretty good chance of happening as well. So let's look at some examples of this, and let's break down what's happening in each of these example sentences. First, if I have time this weekend, I will go to the park. So this is a very basic one. In this sentence, here's my if clause. If I have time this weekend. So that's this part of the sentence. It has if in the sentence. We know it's the if clause. Then this part, I will go to the park. That's the main clause. It has this will part. So my verb in the if clause is have. This is a simple present tense verb. In my main clause, I use will and infinitive verb go. So if I have time this weekend, I will go to the park. So at native speed, this sounds like if I have time this weekend, I'll go to the park. If I have time this weekend, I'll go to the park. So this I will gets reduced, like we shorten this, we make it shorter. So not I will, but I'll. If I have time this weekend, I'll go to the park. So again, this expresses a possible future situation. So this sentence is expressing there's a chance of time this weekend, and in that case, this will be my action. If I have time this weekend, I'll go to the park. Okay. Hey, Monday, one of our YouTube members, welcome. If I have maybe if I have a chance instead of if I get a chance. Usually we say if I have a chance. That's the verb we use there. Okay, let's go to the next one. If she arrives early, we'll get coffee. If she arrives early, we'll get coffee. So in this case, my sentence is my subject is she. If she arrives. So arrives is the simple present form of the verb arrive. We have S here because the subject is matching this subject. She arrives. So we need to add this S here. If she arrives early, comma, so here's my if clause, we'll get coffee. We'll get coffee. So here I've reduced we will to we'll. If she arrives early, we'll get coffee. So get, it sounds like we will go together and buy it. Okay, let's look at some negative ones then, and then I'll show you how you can level this up, because this is the most basic form of conditional. So let's look at a negative one. This one, if he doesn't come to the meeting, we won't discuss our new idea. Again, if he doesn't come to the meeting, we won't discuss our new idea. So here, this follows the same pattern as I introduced up here. The difference is just that it's negative. If he doesn't come, does not. If he does not come to the meeting, here's my if clause. If he doesn't come to the meeting, we won't discuss our new idea. We won't discuss our new idea. So we are not going to do something if this is the case. So this is helpful as well. So you can use this to talk about, various plans for the near future, especially. Okay. I'll look at the final part of this board, and then I'll come to your questions. So if you have questions, start typing them now. Okay, next one. You'll notice a change in this one. If you can't finish your dessert, I'll finish it for you. If you can't finish your dessert, I'll finish it for you. This might be a good example sentence for many of you. So if you can't finish your dessert means if you cannot eat all of your dessert, I will finish it. I will eat the remaining parts of your dessert for you. So in other words, I want to eat your dessert. That's kind of like a funny way of saying this. So if you can't finish your dessert, I'll finish it for you. Here, again, we have this negative. If you cannot finish your dessert, I will finish it for you. So in the first conditional, we can use these can and can't expressions in this clause, the if clause, and in the main clause. So I want to look at this level up point here at the bottom. So to level up this if conditional, this is the first conditional. This will be different depending on the conditional. To level this up, you can use can and can't, or should and shouldn't, or commands instead of will or won't. So remember, will or won't, I said this is like a basic, to make a very basic main clause. You can use these expressions in your main clause too. For example, if I finish work on time, I can join you for dinner. I can join you for dinner. So what's the difference here? Like, for example, if I finish work on time, I will join you for dinner versus I can join you for dinner. Like, the difference is can expresses possibility. If I finish work on time, it's possible to join you for dinner. Will is like 100%. I'm going to join you for dinner. That's the difference here. Can expresses possibility. Will expresses like, yes, I'm going to do that thing. That's the difference here. Okay, some of your questions now. On YouTube, I will go to YouTube first. David Arubla says, how do we use if is not an article? How do we use if in the middle of sentences? So when you see if, when you see this like in the middle of a sentence, it's because these two clauses have been swapped. So swapped means they change the order. So for example, I will go to the park if I have time this weekend. So you can reverse the order here. Or like, I'll finish your dessert for you if you can't finish it. So when you switch the order, the if appears in the middle of the sentence. Okay, some of your I don't see questions on Facebook, but I see all of you saying hello, hello. Dennis, English Journal says, if I get enough money this month, I will have my kitchen redecorated. Very nice. Learn with Trishan says, if he comes, we won't go to the market. Yes, grammatically correct. Grammatically correct, yes. Hua Hua says, if you can't finish your dessert, I am glad to finish it for you. Yeah, or I would be happy to finish it for you. Sounds natural. Okay. Arcadia says, if we don't do anything, the environment will be devastated very soon. Very nice, very nice. Good job. Byron has a great question. Do we need to put a comma? So, if you have the if clause first. Okay, so for me, I put a comma. And if clause, this gets a little bit more advanced, but like if a clause that starts with if is a conditional, like a conditional. And some people feel you should always put a comma after like an introductory like clause, which is this. I feel it sounds most natural to put a comma here, but you may find people who do not. So for me, I would say yes, it sounds natural. That feels like the best rhythm is to put a comma here because we're introducing something. And without this part of the sentence, this part of the sentence doesn't make much sense. This part of the sentence can't be by itself. It needs this part of the sentence. So putting a comma here is important. If, however, you use the main clause first, and if clause second, you don't need to use a comma. For example, I will go to the park if I have time this weekend, no comma. So if your if clause is first, put the comma after the if clause. That would be my answer. Okay, I think I answered some of the questions that are in the chat now. Okay, what's a comma? A comma is this thing right here. It's this thing. I can't type in the chat. Oh, actually I can. I can type in the chat. Here, in the YouTube chat, I'll put a comma. That's what a comma is. That's what a comma is. It marks pauses, kind of, in speech. Okay, I need to go to the next part. Elizabeth on Facebook, you need a bigger board. Yes, I know. Usually I have a bigger board, but I'm broadcasting from home again because of, you know, the world situation. So, okay, let's take a quick break and then we'll go to the next part. Miguel, quick question. Miguel on Facebook says, hi Alisha, can I use could? Sometimes. I'm going to talk about that. In this case, no. With first conditional, the answer is no. But other conditionals, yes. All right, quick break if you missed it. There is a 52-page workbook, a PDF workbook that you can download to practice your English from the link below the video if you are watching on YouTube or above the video if you are watching on Facebook. You can also get access to a free beginner level course. You just need an account on our website. It is free. You need your name and email address only, so put that in. If you put in your name and email address, you can get a free account. See, there's today's grammar, right? So please check that out if you are looking for some other study materials. It's good. Again, it's a beginner level course, so I hope that that is helpful. All right, if you're just joining, today's lesson is about first, second, and third conditional statements. First, second, third conditional statements. If you're just joining, please make sure to like and share the video so that other people can find today's lesson. That would be super awesome. Okay, I will show you again today's lesson boards so that you can see what's going on. I just talked about first conditional, this guy. Now I'm going to talk about second conditional. What is the second conditional? When do we use it? How do we make it? And today, last, I'm going to talk about third conditional. Okay, so let's continue on to part 2 for today. Okay, part 2, second conditional. On we go. Dun-dum. Okay, second conditional. Look at this. This looks very familiar, right? I've made these boards look very similar to each other. So, second conditional. First, let's look at how we make second conditional. This is very slippery today. Okay. Second conditional. We make second conditional we make all conditionals in very similar ways, but we have to be careful of our verb tenses. When we make a second conditional sentence, we have same pattern here. If plus our subject. I'll slow down again. If plus our subject, and then simple past verb. Simple past verb. So remember, when we talked about the first conditional, we used a simple present tense verb, yeah? Here, we're going to use simple past tense. Simple past tense verb. Important point. Then, in our main clause, again, we have our subject, but instead of will or won't, we use would or wouldn't, plus our infinitive verb. So this point and this point, to begin, these 2 points are keys for the second conditional. So when do we use second conditional? Why should we care? We use second conditional to talk about a future situation with a low chance of happening, a very low chance of happening. That means very low possibility. So this is used when we kind of just want to imagine something, but we don't really think it's going to happen. So let's look at some examples of this. Hey, chat moderator, can you look at that? If I won the lottery, I would buy a boat. If I won the lottery, I would buy a boat. What's the lottery? The lottery is a game you can play. You buy a ticket in most cases or something, and if your ticket, the numbers on your ticket match the contest numbers, you win a lot of money. So if I won the lottery, I would buy a boat. This won is the simple past form of the verb win. So if I won the lottery, I would buy a boat. You cannot use will here. Will is incorrect. If I won the lottery, I will buy a boat. That is incorrect, and that's a mistake I see lots and lots of learners make. Please use would here. We cannot use will or won't. Okay. Let's continue to the next example sentence. Please don't flood the chat. Please, if you have a question. Yeah, thanks, chat moderator. Okay. If I had a problem at work, I would speak to my manager. If I had a problem at work, I would speak to my manager. So had is the past form of the verb have, followed by I would speak to my manager. So again, we're saying there's a low chance I will have a problem at work. But if I had a problem at work, this would be my action. So we use would instead of will because we use would and wouldn't to talk about unreal situations, yeah? So we cannot use will speak in this case. It has to be would speak because it's an unreal condition, an unreal situation. Okay, can we use the progressive form of a verb in a conditional? Can you give me an example? Because yes, but yeah, give me an example. Let's go to the next one. If she lost her job, she would find a new one. If she lost her job, she would find a new one. So again, low chance situation, losing her job. Then she would find a new one. So this would be the action in this very low chance situation. Okay, some of your examples are coming in now. Monday Blue says, if I were you, I wouldn't turn down the offer. Good. If I won the lottery, I would. So many of you are using will here. It is incorrect to use will in the second conditional. Please use would. I would come visit you. Does conditional use if? Well, when we're making a condition, generally, yeah. So for today's lesson, we're going to look at using if. If I had money, I would be happier, says Yasin. Good example. Okay. Nestor says, which conditional is the most common? It's hard to say because we have different uses for these different conditionals. So it's not like one is the most common. It kind of depends. I would say, personally, I probably use first conditional more. Second conditional is used to give advice, which is the next topic. So maybe a little bit more second would be second conditional. Okay, on Facebook, some examples. If she had finished her homework, we would have watched the TV. If she finished homework, we would watch TV. I'm not sure what that's trying to say. If she had finished, that might be better for the third conditional, which we're going to talk about later. I can't see. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next one because time is going quick. I mentioned this just now. Used to give advice. This is one of the most common ways that the second conditional is used for advice. If I were you, and yes, I will answer the if I was question in a moment. If I were you, I would exercise 3 times a week. Or if I were you, I wouldn't eat so much junk food. So what's the deal? If I were you or if I was you, native speakers use both, right? It's frustrating. How do you know? The correct answer is were. And yes, that means many native speakers make mistakes with this. when you're using this pattern, when you're using this if I were you, when you're talking about this unreal situation, clearly I am not you, right? It's not a real situation. In that case, use were. If you want to talk about like a past possible situation, for example, when you talk to your neighbor and you had a party the night before and you see your neighbor, you're like, oh my gosh, if I was noisy last night, I apologize. So that means there was a possibility of something in the past. In that case, use was. In this case, use were. Please use were. I know many native speakers use if I was you. It's technically incorrect. Is it a big deal? No. If you forget, are you in trouble? No. But if you remember, great. So please use were. Please use were. Okay, that's the answer to that. And again, I would exercise 3 times a week. This is the big point I want to review. I really want you to remember. Please do not use will in your main class here. Same thing here. I've used a negative. If I were you, I wouldn't, so would not, eat so much junk food. If I were you, I would not eat so much junk food. So we're suggesting something not to do. These are advice expressions. Alrighty. To level up the basic form. So I introduced would and wouldn't here at the beginning of this, yeah? To level this up, you can use could or couldn't to express possibility instead of would or wouldn't. So that means here, instead of using would or wouldn't, you can use could or couldn't here. Again, this changes the nuance from something you 100% want to do to something that is just possible. For example, if I won the lottery, I could buy a boat. So what's the difference? I could buy a boat. I would buy a boat. I could buy a boat just means it's possible. In that situation, it's possible to buy a boat. If I said, I would buy a boat, it's like definitely 100%, that would be my plan. This is the difference. Okay, I'll stop there. Oh my gosh, I'm taking so much time today. I have to finish very, very quickly. All right, I see lots of your examples. If you were here, I would be delighted. Very nice. If I were you, I would study hard on the YouTube chat. Good. Javier on Facebook says, if I was young, I could learn English quickly. In that case, no communication problem, to be super correct. If I were young, or like if I were younger maybe, I could learn English quickly. That were point. If I won the lottery, I would buy a big house, says Tram. Very nice, very nice. Okay, if I were you, I wouldn't go there. Good. If I were you, I would play sports. Youssef, maybe? Youssef on Facebook. I would play sports. Okay. Let's go to the last part. Quickly, if you have missed it, today I'm talking about conditionals. We're going to talk about the third conditional now, everybody's favorite. We're going to talk about the last part. If you have not, please make sure to like and share this lesson so other learners can find today's topic. That would be super cool. Let's go on to the last part because I am running out of time as always. Baswati on Facebook. Can it would be used as it'd be? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to talk a little bit about reductions in this part too. Okay, on to part 3. Third conditional. Ta-da! If plus subject is very familiar here, right? So we have the same pattern again. If subject, but here we have a past perfect verb expression. Past perfect. So, like, that means we're going to use have plus the past participle form of a verb. So, if you don't know what past perfect is, you can check a couple lessons. I have a lesson on the YouTube channel. Actually, I'll put a link if you're watching on Facebook, please check the YouTube description. I will put a link to a past perfect lesson so you can understand this point. So if plus subject plus past perfect verb goes here. Then in your main class, subject plus would or wouldn't plus have and past participle. So this is really past perfect. This is really past perfect, but just so you can see. So past participle is a verb form that we need to study and memorize. So when do we use the third conditional? Third conditional. All right, a past situation did not happen, but we want to imagine the result. We want to imagine the outcome. So this is kind of, we have to think a little bit about these. So let's look at several examples now. First, if I had missed my bus this morning, I would have been late for work. So what is happening here? If I'd missed my bus this morning, I'd have been late for work. That's what it sounds like at native speed. If I had missed my bus this morning, this means I did not miss my bus. I was okay. But if I had, in that case, I would have been late for work. So this sentence shows the outcome of this unreal situation. So outcome means the result. If I had missed my bus this morning, I would have been late for work, but I was not. So it was okay. But we want to express that potential outcome for some reason. Let's look at another example. If he hadn't, so hadn't means had not, if he hadn't called me, I wouldn't have known about the project updates. This means he did. He called me. But if he hadn't, I would not have known about the project updates. Next one. If you hadn't helped me study, I probably would have failed the test. If you hadn't helped me study, I probably would have failed the test at native speed. This means you did help me study, but if you didn't, if you hadn't helped me study, I probably would have failed. So I used probably here because it levels up like the potential of the situation. If I had studied more, I would have gotten better grades. Very nice. Yes, actually, that's a very similar one to my example sentence here. Your questions. Learn with Trishan. Can you give me an example of the progressive in a do you have an example sentence that we can talk about? Let's see. If I had watched your channel before, I would have been perfect at English. Great. Hassan says, can I use second conditional instead of third conditional? It depends on what you want to say. So a key with choosing is the idea here. With second with second conditional, we use it in blue here to talk about a future situation with a low chance of happening, and we use it to give advice. Third conditional, though, we use to talk about a past situation that did not happen. So you can't replace the two of them. Okay, onward. How do we level up the third conditional? In this one, you can use could have or couldn't have to express possibility instead of would have or wouldn't have. For example, if my flight had arrived on time, I could have joined you for dinner. So could have reduces to could have. I could have joined you for dinner. A native speaker would say this sentence, my flight had arrived on time, I could have joined you for dinner. So this could have reduces to coulda, coulda. Then, someone said earlier, if I'd studied harder, I think it was Hassan had a question about this. If I had studied harder, if I'd studied harder, I could have passed, or I could have passed the test. So we can use could and couldn't in the main clause. A big takeaway for today is that you need to make sure you use those could and would and will and won't in your main clause, not in the if clause. All right. Wow, that was a lot. I will show all of the lesson boards now. So if you would like to take a screenshot, please get ready. I will show you everything we talked about in today's lesson. First, second, and third conditional for today and how we make them. I'll put a couple of reference links in the YouTube description. If you're watching on Facebook and you want to get a couple, I'll take it away now. if you're watching on Facebook and you want to get a couple of reference links, after the live stream ends, I'll add a couple links to the description, like for about past perfect, or if you want to review these points a little bit more. Please give me a few minutes after the live stream ends. I will add that there. I have to finish. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of information. I'm super late. So I will say that's all. I'll say that's all, and I will introduce next week's lesson topic. The next lesson will be this time next week, June 3rd. Can you believe it is already June? Oh my gosh. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that is Wednesday. I am going to talk about simple past tense versus present perfect, because you ask me about this all the time, and it's a good topic to review. When should I use simple past? When should I use present perfect? What is the difference? We will cover this next week, so please join me. If you have time next week, please join me for next week's live lesson about this topic. I have to finish there because I'm very late today. So thank you very much to everyone for joining again this week. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for liking and sharing the video. That was awesome. Thank you for your great questions and your great comments too. That is awesome. Please make sure to check out the free course and get the free ebook from the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. And again, if you want to check references for today's video, some other video like homework, I guess, or get links like to submit your questions for Ask Alisha, please check this video on YouTube in just a few minutes. I will put some links there. So enjoy the rest of your week. Have a nice week and a nice weekend, and I will see you again next time. Bye.